Yes, yes.
Yeah, let me share my screen and we'll start today. We will be looking into entity framework on the current .NET Core Web API.
Yes.
So how to create so .NET Core Web API with entity framework. Okay, so that's what we are seeing, and we already have the .NET Core Web API. So what we will be doing is we will be adding entity framework into this. So the approach that we are seeing is the code first approach. Okay, so basically what is an code first approach? So entity framework, first we need to know what is entity framework, and we have two types of approaches that we do in entity framework. One is code first and second is database first. So DB first is almost we are not using it in recent like I would say in the last decade itself, but yes, the most common way of implementing an entity framework into your application is code first approach, which is more stable, reliable, and faster. So first, what is an entity framework? So an entity framework So an entity framework is a strategy that allows us to construct, move, and maintain database and tables entirely in your code itself, actually. Okay, so entity framework is something, an alternative to ADO.NET. Okay, it is an alternate to ADO.NET. It allows you to connect your database in more efficient way. Basically, you don't need to like go to your database itself. Okay. If it is a database first approach, which will be seeing later. So so basically, entity framework is an open source object relation mapping framework for ADO.NET. Okay, so it has been just reframed and what to say, reframed, and it was created as a tool so that you can use this in your code. See, first of all, entity framework is not like ADO.NET so that you can directly write the code and use it. No, you have to install DLLs to work with entity frameworks. An entity framework is a subset of ADO.NET. First of all, ADO.NET is the only way for you to connect to a database. Okay. So ADO.NET, how do you connect with the database? You usually create a connection string, you establish a connection. You just maybe put an adapter or reader or execute reader or something, and you get the data or post the data. You send the data. That's what we do. So prior to .NET 3.5, we often used to write ADO.NET to connect with the database. So we used to open a connection to a database, create a data set to fetch or submit the data to database. You can write the query in the code itself, or else you can write a stop proc. You can hit the stop proc and put the command dot type is equal to stop proc. These are all common that you have used in MVC or everywhere. ADO.NET is common across domains. Okay, across frameworks. Okay, and vice versa we were doing. So this was a cumbersome and error prone process. Basically, if the connection string is an error, then you will have an issue. You have to let's say uh, your database your table name changed, then there's an issue. Like, let's say you are writing a query, select star from a table means, let's say if your table name is changed, then there is an issue. Okay, then you have to come to the code and you have to fix the table name. You'll be writing a store proc inside your store proc also. If you, that is a very simple thing. Okay, if you have written a store proc and you're selecting data from a table means, Okay. If then later the table name has changed means you can simply go to the store proc, change the table name and update. But let's say that you have used the table name in 10 store procs and 10 places in your code, means it's an uh, more work, no? Like if you leave one even a single place, that will throw an error saying the object is not available in the database. So ADO.NET was a cumbersome and an error prone process. So what they did was post to .NET 3.5, they released something called Entity Framework, which is itself a framework. Okay, you see like ASP.NET, ASP.NET MVC, ASP.NET is a framework. ASP.NET MVC is a subset of ASP.NET framework, and again ASP.NET is a framework. Sorry, ASP.NET MVC is a framework. .NET Core is a framework, but .NET Core is a subset of MVC. Okay, so basically they inspired from everything. Okay, see, let's say .NET MVC, what it uses? It uses controller models and views. We used to show the front end UI. In .NET Core, what you do? Actually, .NET Core MVC also you do the same. There is no difference except the app settings, those things. Except that, and yesterday we saw a few things. No, like we have to do like app settings and all. You have to write the connection in JSON format. Those things. Except apart from that, everything is same. But if you come to .NET, .NET Web API and .NET Core Web API is again same. Even see whatever we learned here, it will be same in .NET Web API also. The code, the structure, everything is same. Only the way you create it is different. Okay. You will same again. There you will have the web config. You have the app setting.json. So .NET Core is inspired from MVC because it uses the controller. It uses the model framework. Only thing is the way it works is different. Like it uses the app setting.json, the root and all it takes automatically. The let's say see from one version to other version when you are upgrading something, you make few things automatic. No, see in MVC you should have the root. If the root is wrong, you will not be able to reach any of the controllers. So you'll have the root. No, in the app start, you'll have the root config where you'll see the root being configured. It will be saying controller slash action and ID as optional. Here we do not have that. That is automatic. Okay, and this .NET Core is based on one solid principle called dependency injection. The solid D. Okay, basically what is a dependency injection is we basically uses now see to be honest now we are using the dependency injection even in the ASP.NET Web API. To be honest, I don't know why frameworks has been confused, but yes, see, you are using interface now. We are using this interface to connect with functions. No, we do not connect the controller directly to the function. Actually, we were doing that in ASP.NET Web API. Okay, we were doing that in ASP.NET Web API. I don't know whether what kind of code you are code approach you are following in your MVC, but even in MVC we were doing that. I still remember, like we directly connect to the function. We'll have the model mapping, but we directly whatever it is, we'll directly from controller we directly connect to the function. When return the data directly to controller.
Yes.
That will work. No, there will be no issue. Okay, but we introduced something in between called interface. Why I explained why we are introducing this interface in between. No, I explained why we need to have this interface and all. This is dependency injection. Dependency injection is making your code loosely coupled. Okay, so when you are directly contacting with your function, I said that tomorrow there's many issues. You have to change it in multiple places. You have to come into the code and step up and change it. So if you are doing if you are just connecting to an interface, tomorrow you can simply change the interface and go off. So your change will be in only one place, right? So that's why we introduced interface, and that is dependency injection, and we call it as loosely coupled. So you can use this in any framework if you want. Okay, but that this was introduced along with .NET Core. We called it as dependency injection, and we and one more thing is here it is lazy loading. and that is inbuilt. See, even dependency injection is what you have to achieve it. Lazy loading, achieve it by writing the code. So you have to write the interface, you have to write the code so that it uses dependency injection. What is lazy loading? Okay, so what is lazy loading? uh, how do I tell lazy loading? Let's open something. um, let's go let's open some Amazon website. See, on loading this on loading this URL, this page loads, no? Okay,
Okay.
so you see this, all this menu. See, the let's say does any menu has, sorry, I want to know if any menu has sub menu. mm, okay. See, in on clicking this all the sub menu loads, no?
Okay.
These are all sub menus. Okay, so just recollect your ASP.NET or ASP.NET MVC. Okay, this is a structural, architectural way of .NET Core working. Okay, so that's what it is, not what you see. Okay, it's not what you write also, it's how it works in your behind these screens. So in ASP.NET or ASP.NET MVC, so you would have written code for all this menu, and the sub menu also you would have written. No, when when you hit the URL in your ASP.NET or ASP.NET MVC, everything loads. All these loads. This under the all, even these things load. If you have any sub menus, even those sub menus load. Okay.
Okay.
This is a normal approach of .NET framework code. Okay, that's how it loads everything. But in .NET Core, it works in a lazy loading, which means when you click on this URL, only what you see will load. Okay, only what you see will load. So when I did load it here, under the all, nothing. There is nothing actually now, for now. Only when you click on this all this will load from the code. Until then, nothing will load. You
Okay.
understand?
Yeah.
So that is called lazy loading. Only when you want something, it will load. Else, it won't load. Okay. So that is the
Okay.
difference between a .NET framework and an .NET Core. Okay. So we call it as lazy loading. Okay. This lazy loading, dependency injection are very important questions basically. So this is the practical way of explaining it. This is why we use them. Okay. Why we use them in such a way? Basically, it's faster. No. See, this Amazon website is. You see, think about this Amazon website. How much data it's bringing in. Okay, basically you create an .NET MVC application to develop an Amazon website, a kind of Amazon website to bring in such data. See, photos cannot be stored in database, okay, but it can be stored as a blob. Okay, how we will store is like photos can be stored in a file storage, and this blob will have a blob that will connect to the file storage. We'll establish a connection, and that will bring the photo from that file storage. Okay, so this is a long process, but think of that, how many photos I am bringing. So every time I connect to this file storage, I bring the photo. Okay, if I write an MVC application, it to load the front page, it will take almost 2 to 3 minutes. So this much heavy data, but user won't like that, no? They want everything to be quick, right? So that's why things have moved forward. So we used .NET Core, but still, even .NET Core will be slow, because again you have the view is from your .NET Core itself. No, if you are using .NET Core MVC, you'll have a view here, and you'll just, maybe it is lazy loading. You have to load the view from your server side only. No, everything is backend. You're loading the view will be here. Okay,
Okay.
your controller will return the data, and you will connect the controller with the view, and you are loading the view based on the controller only. No,
Okay.
and your view has limitations. No, the MVC view, how much you can write the code? You can write only as a view is an updated version of ASPX page. right? ASP.NET in ASP.NET framework we use ASPH page, right, which uses only HTML. But in ASP.NET MVC we use CSHTML page, which uses combination of C# and HTML, right? So basically, we can write if condition, for loops, those things we can write, but still it is a HTML. No, you have lots of restrictions. Okay, anything you want to write customized, like you want a function inside to do some validation, you should write it for JavaScript or jQuery. JavaScript and jQuery, until one particular point only they will hold the page. And if you are writing too much of functions there, any validations functions there, your page will get heavy. That will make the application again slow. So what we will do, usually want to do any validation, again come to the controller, and from there go to a function, there do the validation, return it to the view. That's a roundabout way, no? Right? Let's say you are entering some data in your screen. You want to validate and put, let's say you have 10 columns, A, B, C, D, and E. Okay, let's say we have this. So the user needs to enter data into all these columns. And based on these data, when you entered, you should take all these data, do some validation based on your data from your database and all, and you should calculate a value here. Okay, how will you do in MVC? So this you will do in MVC. Basically, what you do, basically you either you write a JavaScript or jQuery. Okay, and if it is very big validation or very big calculation, then you will revert back to a controller, write a function, send all this data and do all the validation, return back. That's a very big process, no? And that will also take time, no? That will also slow down. Any code in server side will slow down. So for that we brought something called we said that okay, views are slowing down, we cannot we do not have the liberty to write any code in view, because it is HTML. You cannot write anything other than HTML. To the max you can write jQuery or JavaScript, which is also limited. So what we did was we separated things. So what we did, we brought in full stack. The next version was full stack, where we were using a backend, which is only for data, to bring the data from database or any other place, and front end, which is Angular, React, Node, anything you call. Okay, okay. So this is the evolution of why we are using the technology now. Let's say, so I was saying that um, ah, why we came was, I was explaining you why we moved from one to one, and what is the upgradation on the framework that we are using. So entity framework was a subset of ADO.NET. Basically, it uses the technology of ADO.NET, but it doesn't. Um, the architectural pattern is not like ADO.NET. Okay, what I mean is, um, let's start with code first. Okay, so there are two approaches in entity framework, which is code first and database first. So I am not very sure, like if you have seen entity framework real long back, we were using EDMX file. Okay, okay, that is called database first. Basically, I will tell you, create the database in code itself. That is code first. Create the database and map it to code. That is database first. This EDMX is a database first approach. What you do is you will have the database, everything. You'll have the database, your tables, everything will be in your database. Okay, SQL. What you'll do here, you will come here and you'll create an AEDMX file. Okay, so we will we first you have to start with the Nuclear package and get the entity framework. Mine won't work because I haven't connected the VPN. But yes, you have to download the entity framework. Okay,
Okay.
entity framework. You just download it. Okay, I
Okay.
will download and keep it for tomorrow's class. But yeah, okay. Your entity framework does not work by default. You have to get the entity framework DL. Okay,
Okay.
it's open source, free. Okay, and you have to create an EDMX file. That time you had a place where you right click and you will have an dialog box coming, and you should select the database. Okay, and from that database you select which table you want to import and all, and it will create a diagram. We call it as ED diagram. Why I cannot show you now is because that has been removed from Microsoft itself. EDMX file, that concept itself is not in um, that concept itself is not in our this is how it will be. Okay, so EDF designer, see it was until 2017 only. Okay, so you have to what you have to do is you have to do an entity framework where you will have to right click, and uh, there will be an entity data model, EF designer from database, and if you go down, you have to select the database first, and then you have to see if you have to give the database, it will try to connect with the database. Then it will create an connection string itself. It will create a connection string, and then you have to select the databases and so you select the tables. See, when you connect with the database, it will show all the tables. When you have to select the tables, and it will link like this. If you have a primary key, foreign key and all, it will link like this, and here it will show. It will say, see if you can see, it says EDMX dot EDMX. It
Okay.
will show all the table. Okay, we call it as designer, and we use this table, and we write the code. We do not we do not do the establishment of database connection, and write so proc or send the query and all. We write everything in a link queue in the code itself. Finished. Okay, that's all. It will automatically connect to the database. It will do everything that you want to do, but you can just if you want to write the query, like whatever you want to write it in the database, you can write it in the code itself. It will do the connections, bring the data and all, it will do. Okay, this is the DB first. Okay, this is the database first, because you map the database in your code. This is totally gone from uh, your .NET framework itself. Okay, we are not using it anymore. Okay, now we are using the code first approach. What is code first approach? You create the database itself in your code. That's all. You create it in your code itself. You will not create your database in your SQL and connect it. No, basically you will create the database, but tables, views, everything you will be creating it in your code only. Okay, you got it. The difference between a code first and database first.
Actually, it means we can create ASP views using the in the code, not SQL Server, right?
No, yeah, you can create it in the code itself. How to create, we will be seeing.
Okay, like functions or all those things using code.
Uh, I would say not exactly. See, entity frameworks are only concerned about your tables and views. Okay, if you are going
Okay.
to use store procedure functions and all, anyone would say don't go for entity framework. See, entity framework is not an appetizing software to be used. Okay, first, where to use entity framework? I will tell you that also. Where to use entity framework? Entity framework, you use it only in application which are very small applications where you have you can just count the tables. You can see the tables, very small tables, and you need to work with only data in the tables. You do not have much validations. You like even validations, you have to take the data and work based on the data only. You do the validation and all. But if it is a very complex application, yeah, I would suggest ADO.NET. Okay. See,
Correct.
Entity Framework does not do very much great performance than ADO.NET. No, 100% no. Entity Framework is a subset of ADO.NET. It was introduced to reduce your work. That's all. If it is a very small application, you don't need to go to database and create everything, create the table, then write the stop rock or write the connection string. All these are demolished. All these are gone. Directly, you when you are writing the code itself, you can create the table and finish it off. Okay, and I will tell you why. I will tell you why uh, Entity Framework became some famous. Because let's say you have an application with 10 tables only. You want to work with that 10 tables. You want to bring the data, you want to post the data, insert, delete, and all. You want to do only these things you are doing means, and you are writing the code means, you can write the code and then you can create the tables, whatever tables you want, and just work with them using link to. How do you create the tables? You create model. That's all. You create the model and we do something called add migration. Okay, so we create the model, and when we do the add migration, basically it's a very small process. uh, this model gets created in your database also. This model is your table. That's all. Anyways, you create model in your code, no? If I say that model is your table, your work is half done, no? So
Okay.
it's, yeah. Let's say if it is a normal ADO.NET, you will create tables in your database, and also you will create a model so that when your data is coming from your database, you want to store it in your model. Correct?
Yes.
I'm cutting the half portion. I'm saying that you don't need to bring data from database. You don't need to create you don't need to do double work. Create one model, create one table, write a connection string, bring data into your model, and then work with your model. Why? You get it right? What do you do in MVC? Let's say you do in MVC, you want to get the table data. How you actually do? You
Yeah,
let's say
actually, yeah,
uh,
actually, first we like creating table in the
uh-huh.
database. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and after that, we can create the model. Okay, and writing the creating the repository for uh, uh, writing logic for the getting data from the table.
Hmm. So you are doing these many work now. I'm saying cut off everything. Just create a model. That's all. That
Okay.
model is your table, and you don't need to write any function or anything to bring data from your database and all. Everything is gone. Only your model, and model will hold the data. Model is the table, and your model will hold the table data. You can directly use the model and work. Now it looks very easy, no, for you. Then you
Yes.
don't need to do so many work, right? That
Yes.
is entity framework. That's all. Correct. But let's say if your application uses like 100 plus tables,
Mm.
then entity framework will become a burden for you, because you need to maintain so many tables. For that, SQL is easy, because you have the table separately in another place, so that you can go work on anything. Yeah, even there is an issue, you can simply alter the table and finish it off. One more thing, once you create anything in entity framework, changing is a very difficult thing. It's a very big difficult work. Okay, so that's why using if you want to use entity framework, you should think twice before using it. Anything in your database, you can easily change it. Do an alter and change it. Finished, right? It will not throw any issue. But if you want to change anything or add a column, anything, see, add a column is very easy. Add another property to your model, do a migration, it will add it. Finished. Nothing.
Okay.
There is no issues. But if you want to change the model name, everything, model name, change the model name, do an add migration, it will be done. But yeah, you have to be very careful. You cannot be doing it that every time. Okay. So too much of tables, it is too confusing with entity framework. So now you know what is entity framework and why we are using entity framework and all. No, that concept you are clear. No.
Yes.
So it's very simple. Entity framework is not that complex, but yeah, it cuts off your work.
Okay.
So basically, before we will be doing this, we'll do the diagram. Okay, we'll have the UI, we'll have the business layer, and we have the data layer. And from data layer, we'll say DB connection. We'll say right. So from UI, we'll go to the business layer. From business layer, we go to the data layer where we write all the connection, get the data from DB, and return back. Now your data layer will be entity framework. That's all. You don't need to write those that in intermittent connection. Those things are avoided. So entity framework fits in between the business entities and the database. It saves data stored in properties of business entities. Basically, it saves data in your properties. That is your model properties. Okay, and also retrieves data from database and converts it to business entities automatically. Before you will be taking data from database. Also, you see, you said no entity framework. Sorry, MVC. You'll have the model. Okay, you will connect with the database and bring the data in a data table. Let's say data table. So from data table to model, you should convert. No, it will not be directly. You cannot put the DT data table model equal to data table. You cannot do that. No. Usually, what we will do, data table, we will put a loop and we just add it into the model. Right? We will do this. We'll create an object for model object for this model equal to new model. Okay, and object we'll do a for loop. Okay, for loop on this data table. Let's say data table has 5 rows. Okay, data table has 5 rows. So let's say data table until 5 rows you have to put the for loop. And what we do, object dot the property is equal to dt of, let's
Yes.
say I is equal to 0, like those things. I equal to 0, I less than dt dot length I plus plus. Okay, so we put dt of I means first row. Your first row data will get into this property. So you have to do this to map the data table from your database to your model. These all are gone. You don't need to do these things. It will automatically map it.
Okay.
So like you get the real usage of entity framework, where and why we are using it and all. No,
Yes.
how we should use alone we need to see. And yeah, that how we are using is simpler than knowing why we are using. Okay, so you should know why we are using. That's the first thing. So now we'll see entity framework features. Just need to know a few things. It's cross platform again. Okay, it works in anything, Windows, Linux, and Mac. Next is modeling. uh, Entity framework automatically creates an EDM. Okay, these are all happens in the backend. You don't have to do anything. We call it as entity data model. It creates the data model and all what I said. Now these all things it will do automatically. Okay. It uses this model when querying or saving entity data to the underlying database. So the model is everything for entity framework. Querying. So entity framework allows you to use link queue. You can directly use link queue to query on your tables. So before you have to connect the database and use the queries. Here you can directly use the link queue and query on the model itself. So retrieve data and all everything you can do. Saving and all, it's easy. Saving, deleting, and all, it's very simple. You don't need to. So insert and all, you don't need to. If you want to insert like 10, like let's say you are doing a thousand row insert in your normal MVC. You are sending a data table to your you know that, no, when you want to send a data table to your database. Okay, these are all advantages of entity frame. Okay, you want to insert 1000 rows into a table in MVC. How will you do that? I'm saying that you should send a data table to your database. What you will do,
Yes.
basically you put a while loop, right?
Yes.
While loop, and write the insert statement here,
Yes.
and it will run for all 1000 rows and insert. No,
Yes.
what I say that data table, your data table now in your entity framework, your data table is your model, and this model list of model, and this has 1000 rows. I'm saying that list of model, this object for list, name of the list of model is, let's say, object. I'm saying that object, sorry, your model, no, let's say your model name. So let's say your model name, put some name. So model name dot add object. I'm saying this will save everything. This will insert everything. A single line. This is easy, no?
Yes.
Uh, this is another advantage. You're saving, deleting, everything is easy. Even deleting, if you want to delete 100 rows or 1000 rows, um, this is easiest way than that. Okay. Also transactions. We saw transaction of begin and rollback transactions. So these transactions are done automatically in entity framework. Entity framework does transaction automatically. If there is any error, it will revoke back. Let's say you are inserting 1000 rows. I said you'll do a while loop and insert. In the 900th row, you have an error. Okay,
Okay.
but 899 rows are already inserted. No, you cannot revoke back them, right?
Yeah.
You can write transaction so that if there is any error, it will revoke back. Uh, that's fine. But if it is not there, means if you cannot write transaction, the place where you cannot write transaction means 899 rows are already inserted. You cannot do anything. And if finding that rest 100 rows is purely very difficult, right? So, but in your entity framework, if 899 rows are inserted and 900 rows an error means, it will revoke back everything. It will not save,
Okay.
because after add you should do something called your database dot save changes. db dot save changes. Only this will save. Okay, that's a very good thing in entity framework.
Okay.
So these are all the advantages um, that we have, and versions. We'll go for entity framework versions. So we have EF6 and EF core. So EF6 is an old version, okay, released in 2008, and we are working with the .NET Framework 3.5. We work it. .NET Framework 3.5. We are working. It can be used with .NET Framework 3.5. .NET Core is released very recently, 2016, and it works with .NET Core. Any version of .NET Core comes, it will work. Okay, it gets upgraded along with .NET Core. So .NET 6 is, I would say, it's a old one, but it doesn't have any new updates, so it's stable. It's new and becoming stable. There are many versions in Entity Framework Core, so it's stable. Both are open source and free. Okay, so One thing is, entity framework 6 will only work until .NET 3.5. Core will work above .NET 4.5 and .NET Core. And now you can say that, see, .NET, you are not using 3.5 anymore, right? I'm sure that we are not using 3.5 anymore. We are the lowest version that we use in .NET framework is 4.5.
Yes.
So entity framework is your only option.
Okay.
So this is about all about things. So I'm pretty sure you got everything, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so everything would be same. Like creating a .NET Core, everything would be same. Uh, what you need to do is, today I will wrap uh, wrap up with these things alone with all theoretical version of entity framework. So I want you to download these things. Microsoft dot entity framework core dot SQL server. Download this. Okay.
Okay.
Download this uh, in your Visual Studio. Okay.
Okay.
Um, so for executing database operation from the code, we use these things. Okay. And one more thing you need to download, which is say Microsoft entity framework core dot tools. Both download both of them. I'm putting it.
Uh, it's download for solution, right?
Yes, simply you do this. Okay, go now you have the solution. Now go to your tools, go
Yes.
to Nugget Package Manager, Nugget
Okay.
Package Solution. In browse, you browse them. Okay, you'll get them.
Okay.
Select them and you'll see the solution. Select your solution.
Okay.
Basically select. It will show your .NET uh, .NET Core API, and it will show member data. Select
Yes.
both, install in both. Okay, after post installing you should see them in your dependencies. Okay, in
Okay.
packages you should see uh, the entity framework code. Okay,
Okay.
so that is the first step to have it. And post which I want you to do one thing. uh, okay, I want you to create a model. Okay, see, you have this model now. Here you create one more uh, model. Okay,
Okay.
same way, you just create it in the same way, but how to write an entity framework model, same. See, let's say you have your table is going to have only these four columns. Okay,
Okay.
you need to whatever you are going to do in your database you should do in your code. Let's say mm, this is a string first. Okay, let's say member id will come first. Okay, so I'm
Okay.
going to create a table, and I'm going to have these four columns. Member id is int, and I'm saying this member id should be identity.
Okay.
Okay, and member id is my primary key. How will
Okay.
I mention them in the model? So how you should mention is, first mention as key. It won't work because I do not have the entity framework core. Okay,
Okay.
I will install them, and I'll tomorrow I'll show you. If I connect VPN, my this will disconnect or get disconnect. Okay, but yeah, I'm telling you, if you add key, which means this will become your primary key. Okay, and
Okay.
identity also you have. Everything will be attributes. Everything will be attribute. So the identity I will show you tomorrow because that is IntelliSense. It will be nice. And let's say if you are creating any string, means it is varchar in your database. No, for varchar you will be giving a length. No, like varchar
Yes.
of 6. That how you can do is you can put string length. There's something called string length of 50. So first name is string length of 50, varchar of 50. Okay.
Okay.
So you can give string length. And one more thing you can do. You can do a column name. Okay.
Okay.
Column, and this you can give a name. So why what is column name means in database this is the name of the column, but you are giving a subname here to use it freely. Okay.
Okay.
So let's say if you are creating a model and you have a database table, from database table your model will not have same exact name as database table columns, no, but you will map it accordingly. Right, same way I'm saying my column name is this, but my property name is this. That's all. For my convenience, it's your wish. Why I will tell you. Basically, when we use this, see in our system. Let's say in our system in my company, we create columns like this: name, first name. We create columns like this with underscore and all. But we do not want properties to be like that. No, I do not want the properties to be like that. So I want property to be like surname, means surname. That's all. I do not want name underscore surname and all. So
Okay.
for those reasons, we have this. If you do not want, you can simply have it as name, surname, and remove the column. That's our wish. It won't. It is not an error or it's not like that. But I'm saying that real time scenario where you need this column and all.
Okay.
So that is one thing. So you just create an just I would say do this way. Post installing the entity framework into your application, you just refer a table. Okay, you just refer a table in your database. You just take a table and just create the table here in your model. Okay, tomorrow I'll say how to add your key. Primary key means how to add primary key, unique key, how to add unique key, foreign key, how to add foreign key, and then identity columns, how to do it. Those things I will tell, and how to add it to the database from your code itself. I will tell. Post that, it's very simple. You have to use this directly. When you add it to your database, then you can use this model directly into your system. I'll tell how to get the data from this table or add data to this table, delete data from this table. We'll see from entity framework. Okay.
Okay. And also here we can do like anywhere care max length
Oh yeah.
direct. Okay. Okay.
Yes. We can do max length and all.
And column them like column data type like we use need to use anywhere care.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Data type, we
Okay.
can use data type also. Data type, you can use data type. See, data
Okay.
type.
It's or
Every,
also attribute. Okay.
yeah, everything we'll use. I will. You just create the model. I will tell what all we can use, and I will show you them.
Okay. It
And
means like if we anything like in do in SQL Server column like it's using in here attribute.
yes, everything will be attribute here. That's all.
Okay.
So yeah, anything else?
No, no. Okay. Done.
So then we'll see this tomorrow. Yeah, just
Yeah.
do these things and come for tomorrow. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Jignesh. We'll
Yeah.
meet tomorrow.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.